I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 firsts from Queen Elizabeth II's reign.
Her ability to read the public mood and for the monarchy to adapt has gained her great respect.
For this list, we'll be looking at times the Queen led the monarchy into the modern age, whether that's through technology, popular culture, international relations, or becoming more accessible to the public. Which royal first surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Opening Buckingham Palace to the public. 1992 was not a good year for the monarchy.
In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
After a fire-ravaged Windsor Castle, the royals faced backlash for assuming taxpayers would foot the bill. They also tried to set up a public fund, but that failed too. So in 1993, the Queen decided to open the palace gates to the public for the first time. Visitors would pay an admittance fee to explore the 19 staterooms in the royal abode.
£8 tickets, perhaps too dear for some, took them past the palace gates, the doors opening at 9:30 to allow the general public an historic view of such splendours as the grand staircase leading to the throne room.
They'd initially hoped for 400,000 visitors to help them reach their goal. However, within a week, they'd received 3 years' worth of bookings. What started as a short-term plan became an annual summer season tradition. Just don't expect any royal sightings, as the palace only opens when they're not at home.
Are those for the Queen?
Queen's not here. There's no flag flying. Queen's at Windsor.
Number 9. Addressing the U.S. Congress. On May 16, 1991, Queen Elizabeth II became the first British monarch to speak at a joint session of Congress.
I know what a rare privilege it is to address a joint meeting of your two houses. Thank you for inviting me.
About 800 people filled the room to hear what the British royal had to say, and she was met with a lengthy standing ovation before she'd uttered a word. The Queen opened with a perfectly delivered joke demonstrating a comedic side that most of us didn't get to enjoy nearly enough.
I do hope you can see me today from where you are.
She went on to talk about the two countries and their shared spirit of democracy. She also addressed the recent Gulf War and both British and American involvement in the conflict. The Queen was famously apolitical, at least publicly, so this was a pretty big deal.
I know that the servicemen and women of Britain and of all the members of the coalition were proud to act in a just cause alongside their American comrades.
Number 8. Sending her first email.
You may know Queen Elizabeth II for several reasons, but did you know that she was known to be Britain's first high-tech monarch?
Queen Elizabeth II was fortunate to see the world propel into the modern age during her lengthy reign. She joined several other heads of state in sending goodwill messages to the astronauts embarking on the 1969 era-defining space mission. Then, in 1976, she became the first monarch to send an email. This was before the World Wide Web we know today even existed. During a visit to a telecommunications research facility, she was introduced to ARPANET, a predecessor to the internet you're using right now.
British computer scientist Peter Custine was the man who actually helped the Queen in setting up her account in 1976.
Her email announced a new programming language, and she signed off with a casual Elizabeth R. The Queen continued to embrace modern communication, sending her first tweet in 2014 and creating her first Instagram post in 2019.
Her Majesty shared this photo of a letter written in 1843 by Charles Babbage, the world's first computer pioneer, to her great-great-grandfather, Prince Albert. It seems fitting to me that I published this Instagram post at the Science Museum.
Number 7. Becoming a pop culture icon. As the pop culture scene began to explode, the Queen happily played her part.
Good evening, Sir Bond.
Good evening, Your Majesty.
She became a muse for some of the world's most celebrated artists, an inspiration for countless films and TV shows, and even admired the Iron Throne while touring the Game of Thrones set. Also, remember when she engaged in humorous transatlantic smack talk?
Oh, really? Please.
Boom.
Of course, we will never forget her starring role at the 2012 Olympics. Apparently, she surprised the crew by expressing her desire to be involved. In 2022, she showed off her acting chops again in an adorable skit with Paddington Bear in honor of her Platinum Jubilee.
Perhaps you would like a marmalade sandwich. I always keep one for emergencies.
So do I. I keep mine in here.
Oh.
For later.
Supposedly, it made quite the impact, and mourners have been asked to stop leaving marmalade sandwiches outside the palace gates. Number 6. The first televised Christmas broadcast. The Queen's grandfather, King George V, instigated the first Christmas broadcast in 1932. His granddaughter continued the tradition, but in 1957, she traded the airwaves for television.
I very much hope that this new medium will make my Christmas message more personal and direct.
Millions of viewers watch the Queen in her festively decorated home, reflect on the past year, and offer holiday greetings. Although the royals had never been seen on TV like this before, Queen Elizabeth II was a natural. In 1960, she began to pre-record her messages for convenience and also so she could extend her well wishes across the Commonwealth.
My husband and our children, together with the other members of our family, join me in wishing every one of you a happy Christmas and a prosperous new year.
In 2021, her speech drew in more spectators than any other program, with 9 million viewers across the UK. The tradition will likely live on, but Christmas won't be the same.
Which I hope will be an opportunity for people everywhere to enjoy a sense of togetherness. A chance to give thanks for the enormous changes of the last 70 years. Social, scientific and cultural.
Number 5. The first British monarch to visit the Republic of Ireland in 100 years. After visiting 117 countries and amassing more than 1 million miles, the Queen holds the title of the best-traveled monarch. In 1965, she made a historic trip to West Germany, and in 1986, she became the first British monarch to visit mainland China. But in 2011, Queen Elizabeth made headlines as the first British monarch to visit the Emerald Isle in 100 years.
Argus Acoisa.
It was a significant gesture that saw the royal extend an olive branch to the neighboring island. She arrived dressed in emerald green, incorporated the Irish language into her speech, and laid a wreath for those who died fighting for Irish independence.
It would be difficult, if not impossible, to overstate the significance of this simple ceremony. Just one act of reconciliation, but a defining moment in the history of these islands.
She acknowledged the two nations' turbulent past and expressed hope for a stronger and better relationship in the future.
So we celebrate together the widespread spirit of goodwill and deep mutual understanding that has served to make the relationship more harmonious, close, as good neighbours should always be.
Number 4. Introducing the royal walkabouts. These days, we're used to seeing royals meet and greet well-wishers who gather to see them. But would you believe that this tradition is actually relatively new?
Those walkabouts didn't happen until Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Before that, monarchies were famously inaccessible and rarely came into contact with their subjects.
In the past, the royal family would be driven past by cars, and you could only hope to catch a glimpse of them. However, Queen Elizabeth II changed all that during a trip to Australia and New Zealand in 1970. She reportedly said she wanted to say hello to the crowds who come to see her. Thus, a new tradition was born. The royal walkabout has since become a common practice, and fans can now shake hands with royal family members and engage in short conversations. Just don't ask for a selfie.
Better safe than sorry. I think it's better to be dull than potentially cause offense.
Number 3. Joining the armed services. Princess Elizabeth was just 13 years old when World War II broke out in 1939. In 1940, she and her sister Princess Margaret broadcast a message of hope and encouragement to Britain's youth during the BBC radio program Children's Hour.
My sister Margaret Rose and I feel so much for you, as we know from experience what it means to be away from those we love most of all.
As the conflict continued, so did her dedication, and she sought a more active role.
She wanted to play her part in the war effort, but her father had reservations.
Eventually, the 19-year-old princess joined the Women's Auxiliary Territory Service and became the first female royal to serve in uniform. She trained as a mechanic and driver and quickly rose through the ranks. To the press, she affectionately became known as Princess Auto Mechanic.
Her image as an ambulance driver played a potent part in wartime propaganda and was considered a huge success. Her persistence had paid off.
Her dedication and support for the armed service remained prevalent throughout her life. Number 2. Televising her coronation. Although televisions had been around for a while, by 1953 they weren't yet a staple in people's homes. However, that all changed when the incoming queen decided to break royal protocol and broadcast her coronation.
Let us give her a coronation that is befitting of the wind of change that she represents, modern and forward-looking at a moment in time where exciting technological developments are making things possible we never dreamt of.
This would be the first time cameras were permitted in Westminster Abbey and the first major event to be broadcast internationally. Royal fans went out and either bought or rented TV sets, while others gathered in communal places like pubs and theaters to watch this momentous occasion. More than 20 million people tuned in worldwide, and TV viewership outnumbered radio listeners for the first time.
Queen Elizabeth, your undoubted queen, wherefore all you who are come this day to do your homage and service, are you willing to do the same?
The coronation is also credited with ushering in the age of television, and today's influencers thought they were trendsetters.
So there are some disadvantages to crowns, but otherwise they're quite important things.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. The first monarch to celebrate a Platinum Jubilee. In February 2022, the Queen became the first British monarch to celebrate 70 years on the throne.
Somebody else can finish it off. Do the rest of it.
70 years in the same job? Can you even imagine? That's a lot of Mondays. Still, there was a lot to celebrate, and she did it in style, culminating with a 4-day weekend filled with entertainment and various engagements. Artists gathered to perform in her honor, and events and street parties were hosted nationwide. There was also a pageant highlighting milestones from her impressive reign.
In her Accession Day statement, she said she was humbled by the loyalty and affection she continued to receive.
Given the unprecedented circumstances of her ascension to the throne, it's unlikely we'll see another monarch reach this milestone in our lifetime. Queen Elizabeth had an incredibly unique reign, and her legacy will never be forgotten.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.